PSDS, meron naman siguro kayong data na makapag-validate kung ano man yung isa-support.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for the suggestion.
From our discussion leaders. So I guess there's no other comments and just to the presentation of this Dixie. Congratulations to our team for the MEA presentation of your district. We have seen a lot of improvement and changes in the presentation.
Thank you so much, Sir Angel.
So let's now listen to the synthesis of Doc Karen.
Hello, good afternoon. Okay, this is
Good afternoon, Doc.
okay. Ma'am, this is the comment of Ma'am Tita. So there is a concern on some math, TL in math, except in grade 5. So because there is a below national standard level. So she is asking that it be identified the competency and the difficulty for proper intervention. From Ma'am ASDS, so she is asking that the intervention should be specific for guidance on best practices, and this will be validated by the PSDS. So, dapat po, specific daw po yung intervention given by the school heads. So, according to Ma'am Emil naman, hindi daw kasi nasabi yung mga specifications. So, and Ma'am ASS also asked about what is the consideration given, why the consideration is given. Ma'am Emil said there is a request for extension on completing the modules for guidance and to finish the activity. So that's it po.
Thank you, Doc Karen.
Thank you din po, Ma'am Emil.
So again, thank you very much, Ma'am Emil and Doc Karen, and congratulations also to District 6. And now let's proceed to the MEA presentation of District 5 from our PSDS, Ma'am Lourdes S. Morales.
Diretso lang. Say na. Good afternoon, everyone. Of course, to our MEA team, headed by the SDS and to Ma'am Milani, uh, our beloved ASDS, and of course to the MEA team, to the PSBS group, and to all the school heads. A pleasant good afternoon. The global health crisis we are experiencing provides for a sudden paradigm shift in education. This pandemic drastically changed the educational landscape, which provides a big impact on the quality of educational services to our clientele, the learner. Hence, there is a need to redirect our learning delivery modality to ensure that quality education be delivered in every home of our learners. District 5 of Ligao City, composed of Cabasi Elementary School, CRPMES, Macaladong Elementary School, Tinampo Elementary School, Tula-Tula Elementary School, Jugracias, Princesa Memorial High School, and private school, Cornerstone, and the Cornerstone Foundation. So let us take on how the school deliver and ensure the access, quality, and educational management of their respective schools. Along access, based from the data presented, that it is noted that as far as grade 6 is concerned, in the elementary, there are only 11 non-completers, wherein the percentage of completers for elementary is 93.92 with a gap of 6.07%. While in BPP or the secondary, they have 100% completers for grade 12, grade 10. Presentation. Okay, this is accounted because of the lack of interest to study. Some children are helping their parents to work in the field for academic performance and broken home. And despite of the activities or best practices that these elementary and secondary schools implemented, such as home visitation, with emphasis on the IATF protocol, the SBFP, I Love to Learn Convergence Project, advocacy campaign during OBE, parents orientation, intensive intervention of teachers in attending classes, and even friendly approach of teachers to pupils, there's still this presence of dropouts or presence of failures. Hence, it is recommended that for plan adjustment, that all parents should be involved in this and be in this participation. Conduct dialogue with parents, constant monitoring of learners to ensure that they are on learning tasks as scheduled in the weekly home learning plan. For the secondary, it is accounted for lack of support of some parents, health issues, and family problems. Hence, it is recommended that there is a need really to look into the kind of leadership that every leader should and teachers should be committed, visionary leaders who are dedicated into making the school a great place to learn and grow naturally bring students into the fold. Okay, for the number, based from the data presented, it was noted that there is only one school who has dropped out, which is Kiasa Elementary School. And this is because of the uh, out of the 6 elementary school, only one school, Kiasa Extension, has 3 dropouts, or that is 5% of the school total enrollment, or that is 0.25 against the total population of 6 elementary schools in District 5. And for secondary, DPPMHS have 16 out of 1,372, or that is only 1.17% school leavers for Q1. And despite of the home visitations following the strict adherence to safety protocols, the distribution of modular learnings, meeting with the parents, while of course with emphasis on the IATF protocols, still there is a presence of the pardos because of the low morale of pupils due to the lack of parental support of some parents, the preference of some of the students to work, and early marriage and teenage pregnancy. Plus, of course, the working mother or parents who cannot give learning support to the pupils. Hence, it is recommended that early identification and learning intervention for pardos must be given, intensive monitoring, following up of parents' attention, and home visitation. For secondary also, with regards to the preference of work, it is also that these students must be endorsed to the SWD, and endorsement also to the ALS, sponsorship programs such as the feeding and scholarship, follow-up and assistance system for teens. That is one of the program of the DPP. And of course, to the uh, also a dialogue of two parents. Along quality, we have the learners under the frustration level. This is based from the 2019-2021 post-fill area result. Based from the presented data, it can be noted that Tinampo Elementary School has the highest pupils, followed by Kabasi Elementary School, 37, Makalidang Elementary School, 32, CRPMES, 18, Kiasa Extension, 7, and Tula-Tula Elementary School, 2. So for elementary, we have a total enrollment of 1,100. Out of the 1,195 enrollment, there are 142 under the frustration level. This data speaks that under the frustration level, it can be noted that there are 11.88% who are under the frustration level. And for the secondary, we have 410 out of the 1,379, which accounted for the 29.73% frustration level. And this it's because of that some pupils spend less or no time in reading due to poor reading comprehension. They focus more on gadgets such as cell phones, computer games, social media such as FB, Messenger, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and more, and poor reading support from home. So despite of the given activities provided here, still there is a need to conduct drastic actions to ensure that this frustration level be improved, if not totally decreased or eradicated. And so the plan for adjustment must be given, wherein there is a need to intensify the implementation of reading remediation program and other reading recovery strategies. Provide a comprehensive school-wide balanced reading program. Provide an individualized reading instruction. There is also a need to tap external stakeholders to have a Purok or community reading program spearheaded by the SK with the direct supervision of the school and the provision also of audio materials for beginning reading. And of course, for secondary, we have out of 1,379, there are 410 frustration, under frustration level, wherein there, despite of the strong partnership with parents, still there is again the presence of issue on the physical and economic condition of the family, wherein grade 7 are also considered in the transition period, and considering the pandemic that we have, the kind of modality that we have also has a big impact on the learning of our children, school children and students. Of course, one also of the contributing factor is the poor comprehension and the poor focus on learning due to peer influence. And because of this, there is a need for us to consider and intensify the remedial classes, enhancement activities, individual remedial reading programs, and reading festivals. Okay, so for the learners with failing grades in quarter one, it is noted that based from the given presented chart, it can be noted that out of the 171, thank you, 171 pupils in Kabasi, there are 151 who passed, which means that they failed for this quarter one. And so in CRP, 10 for Macalidong, 10 for Tinampo, 4 for Tula-Tula Elementary School, 3 for Kiasa. And therefore, there are 40 pupils who have failing grades out of the 1,162 pupils in the District 5. Hence, this pupils with failing grades is focused more on the three major subjects, which is the English, math, and science, with additional of MAPE and Filipino. So despite of the regular distribution and retrieval of learning modules, activity sheets, assessment and intervention, meetings, feedback with parents, a follow-up through home visitation, still there is this prevalence that the learners have lack of motivation and enthusiasm to learning. And one of also of the reason why they also fail because they have this the adaptability struggle with the new normal, and to cope with the time or poor time management. And some parents do not claim the modules as scheduled due to conflict of schedule with their work that resulted to delay and poor learning. Also, the low capacity of parents to provide learning support due to educational limitations has a big impact on the learning of the pupils and students at home. And so it is recommended that intensive monitoring of school heads to ensure prompt delivery of learning materials, the provision of technical assistance to teachers in the crafting of worksheets, assessment, and intervention materials, which should be aligned with the MEA. Orientation of parents regarding the weekly home learning plan should be given, as they will be the one who will be providing the assistance and be the bridge of learning. Also, the provision of intervention activities, particularly in mathematics, science, English, and Filipino, which is the main learning area that they have failing grades, or that they fail. I'm sorry. Then adoption of the localized materials and engagement of parents and teachers, and also ensure the responsiveness of the PPAs of every school. For PL in mathematics, for quarter one, it is noted that Tinampo Elementary as the target that are within the target is 3 out of 6. That means 50% of the 6 schools, wherein Kabasi Elementary School, Tinampo, and Tula garnered beyond the 75% level of mastery, while CRPMES, Makalidong, and Kiasa below 65% of target. This is accounted because of the presence of non-numerates in the previous school year, poor mastery of the basic mathematical operation, most of the higher competencies or concepts were not mastered. Not all students do their modules wholeheartedly. Difficulty in understanding concepts without direct supervision and explanation of the teacher because of no face-to-face policy. Then the recommended actions for adjustment that the school should provide, or the teacher should provide, comprehensive lesson intervention suited to their need and level of the learners, aligned with the competency. Use of resources such as learner materials, utilization of textbooks, activity sheets, study guides, and other study materials. The use of contextualized and localized materials, and continuous dialogue with parents regarding their academic performance. As to the secondary, we have, out of the 75% target in mathematics for quarter one, I am proud to present that the accomplishment of DPP is 83%, which is beyond the 75% target. That means to say that is 8% increase of the target. Despite of this, there's still the prevalence issue of that teachers on the part of the subject teacher making several assessments that will suit the ability and capacity of the learner. Hence, despite of the assessment that was given per learner capacity and ability. That is why it is also recommended that different levels of assessment to suit the ability and capacity of the learners, notwithstanding or sacrificing the MELC's competencies. And for private school, of course, the target, we have a target of 75%, wherein the private school has accomplished 96% with an increase of 21%. This is because of, aside from the one mentioned, because of the provision of colored printed modules and video lessons. Hence, it is recommended that such practice and best practices be continued. As to the enrollment, as of March 2021, we decided to compare it as of last school year so that we can see if there is a marked increase, a gap or a gain as far as enrollment as of March 2021. I'm sorry. We're in here for elementary, out of 1,100 for school year 2019-2020, we had 1,195. But for this is school year, we have 1,162. It can be noted that there was a decrease of 40 pupils for this school year. Which accounted because of the following: the bullying, lack of parent support, parents who are not sure of sending their wards to school because of the present situation, the demographic or the location, which some of the secondary students are living in far-flung barangays, and also caught unaware of the present health situation, the risk of having affected by the virus. Hence, it is recommended that effective distribution of modules and learning activity sheets be given. Home visitation, of course, following the IATF protocol. Early advocacy on enrollment. The use of media, leaflets, and tarpaulins. Strong and sustainable partnership and linkages with the barangay council and other stakeholders in the community. The maximum utilization of effective communication platforms, the regular monitoring and coordination of parents who get the materials, and of course, to establish a sound feedback mechanism to improve the performance of the school as a whole. For our overage, based from as of enrollment as of March 2021, Kabasi, for Kabasi, we have 4 overage for CRP2, 42 for Makalidong, 23 for Tinampo, 7 for Tulutula, and 6 for Kiasa. That means we have in the elementary 84 overage out of the 1,162. That is 7.23% of the total population in the elementary. As for to the secondary, in DPP, out of the 1,372, 188 students are overage. That is 13.70% of the total population in DPP. Now, for private school, we have also out of the 65 pupils enrolled in that school in Cornerstone, 2 are considered overage. This is because of the existence of the retained pupils, the balik eskwela, and this is also accounted for the illness, child labor, and financial constraint. There is really a need for us to ask for the support of the SWD, specifically the 4 Ps, to ensure regularity of attendance or on task on learning at home. And the provision of regular medical and dental checkup and medical intervention for those who have suffered some illnesses. Then school mapping and child find, and also the provision of the feeding program. the school age, based from the foregoing data, it can be noted that Ligaw West District 5 have 1,078 school age learners out of the 1,162 learners. That is 92.08% for the elementary. Meaning to say, we still have an existing of 7.92% who are of school age. I mean, and for DPP, new provide student and parent orientation on the importance of education, provide regular guidance to students, continue establishing rapport with students, and make regular connection, parents' involvement in all the activities of the students, and the provision of remedial activity to students with failing marks. Performance level in mathematics for quarter 2. Ako, tapos na sa graduates. Okay, PM. Okay. For the performance level in mathematics for quarter 2, it can be noted that there are only 3 schools, or 50% of the school have gained or go beyond the 75% target. These are Macalidong Elementary School with a gain of 1%, Tinampo Elementary School 8%, Tula-Tula Elementary School 8%. While Kabasi Elementary School, Tinampo Elementary School, and Kiasa Elementary School did not made the 75% or below the 75% level of mastery. So this is accounted that despite of the weekly assessment and home visitation of some of the schools, still some students tend to copy their answers from others without reading the modules, with no faculty around for face-to-face interaction, and no classmates who can help with the constant reminder about pending assignments. Then of the subject teacher making the several assessment that will suit the availability and capacity of the learners. So for action taken or plan for adjustment, the use of other resources such as learner materials, textbooks, activity sheets, study materials of the community quarantine because of this pandemic, and also the time and the cost constraint. And for the actions taken, it is also, for the plans of adjustment and recommendation, it is recommended that there should be a constant monitoring of progress of the different PPAs. The judicious management of fiscal resources. Schools must stick to the project implementation timeline, provide adjustment supplemental to address the immediate needs due to health crisis, and of course, the prioritization of the projects. So for the secondary, SIP was made in 2019 due to the new normal. Many of the school projects and programs were not fully implemented. And so there is a need for them to make some adjustment as to the program that will be held in abeyance to give way to the need of the learners or of the school as a whole. That is why for the secondary, the target of the DPP is 100%, but they were only able to accomplish 75%, which have a gap of 25% to be implemented soon. Okay, looking at the graph here, it can be noted that all the schools, I mean, almost 90% of the schools were able to 100% liquidated the MOE for January to March 2021, except for Macabilidong Elementary School, which has an 80% liquidation. So this liquidation are rated according to the utilization as specified in their APP. So we're in, based from the pie graph, 53% of the total MOE were utilized for school and office supplies, 3% for janitorial services, 7% for electrical bill, 6% for training, 3% for local travels, and 18% for health and medical related supplies, 2% for load expenses, and 8% for internet access. So it can be noted that one of the issues, despite of the 100% liquidation of most of the schools, of the 90% of the schools, it can be noted that they have still personnel to manage the liquidation report, the limited local suppliers, the attachment of snapshots, prolong the bank transactions, and also in the secondary as an IUS implementing unit, almost independent school on a quarter basis, the fund is downloaded to their bank account. And so because of this, there is still a need for us not only to follow what is in the APP and IAP with a little adjustment to suit the present need, there is still a need for them to keep an up-to-date accounting records, simplification of liquidation process, the use of statement of accounts instead of snapshots. The paperless transaction is recommended also to request for a snapshot when conducting requests for snapshots in the bank to lessen the exposure to public, hence ensure the safety measures of our school heads against COVID-19. And of course, follow the mandate, will never go wrong, and for sure, the audit observation memorandum for January to March is 100%, and that is of excellent liquidation. And for the private school and non-dependent schools with or without authority to operate and issuance of provisional compliance certificate for school year 2020, 2021, and 2021-22, Cornerstone Development Center for Children Incorporated have the issuance of provisional compliance certificate and authority to operate for school year 2020-21. However, for school year 21-22, they are still on the process of applying for the issuance of the PPC and the authority to operate. Wherein the documents of the Cornerstone Development Center for Children is already submitted for approval at the division and regional office. And for that, I would like to end my presentation that the soul of him who has education is whole and perfect and escape the world. But if a man's
District pa lang po ang nakapag-present. We still need more presentation. So, take po 2 minutes, 15 minutes lang po tayo.
sorry, alam mo, sorry po, hindi ko po kasi wala namang nagsabi ng mahaba.
Supervision and explanation of the teacher. And it is
That schools provided are activity sheets or conceptualized to capture the level of the learner, wherein it is tailored fit in such a way that it will really target the needed competency suited for the level of the learner.
okay. So they prepared study guides
Yes,
and
ma'am.
other materials to
Yes.
address the
They
problem.
contextualized and also they used localized materials to support in order to improve the or come up with an improved performance as far as the mathematical competency is concerned, particularly along the basic mathematical operations in the primary grade.
Okay, thank you very much. And how do they communicate it to the learners?
They communicated using the Facebook, the messenger, and also they use the different forms of media to capture, to be able to send the materials, given to the parents. Of course, they are requested through a regular meeting. When they get the materials from the school, they conducted a feedbacking and at the same time orientation of the parents so that these parents can relate to their children as to the proper accomplishment and yung pagtuturo, actual teaching of the concept.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma'am Des. Congratulations and God bless.
Thank you po, ma'am.
So thank you very much, Ma'am. Anyone from our discussion leaders? Doc Joanne, Sir Ernie, and Sir Nelson. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon po.
So okay na po yung presentation. So ma'am, i-correct ko lang po ma'am yung presentation kanina doon po sa last part. Yung Cornerstone Development Center for Children Incorporated po, complete po sila. Merong permit, may PCC and provisional permit to operate
Yes
for
po.
grades 2 to
For
3.
this school year,
Complete
but
po sila.
they are applying for on process for next school year. Tama po.
Po ma'am. Yesterday po ma'am na-receive po ng
Mali
DBET
kasi yung
yung
nailagay.
permit.
Sorry.
Dumating na po today, hawak na po namin.
Opo, I'm sorry.
Opo,
Mali.
okay lang po.
I
Thank
have
you po, ma'am.
my
Salamat
sorry
po.
po sir, yung slide kasi hindi pala yung latest na i-present. Kasi yung sa presentation
Okay na po, ma'am.
nakalagay po yung without sa 2020 122, but they is on process. They have already submitted for next school year. I apologize for that presentation kasi iba yung nailagay ko pala. Hindi ko na-edit, ay hindi nakasabay yung edit. Opo. So, thank you. Ibang po dito sa slide po. Okay, thank you po sir.
Listen to Ma'am Marante for the synthesis.
Tapos na.
Hello, good afternoon to all. Okay, here is the synthesis for District 5 under the supervision of Ma'am Lourdes Morales. Okay, Ma'am Tita asked about the poor mastery on basic math operation due to non-supervision of the teachers. Ma'am Tita, Ma'am Lourdes answered that the activity conducted, some schools provided activity sheets created to capture the level of learners. The use of localized materials, and they communicated through messenger to send the materials, and they conducted feedbacking to parents so that they can relate this to the children. That's all po. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Team Barante, for the
Thank you,
synthesis for
ma'am. Thank you
District
po.
2. And thank you again to our discussed leaders, Ma'am Lourdes Morales.
Thank you
And let's
po.
proceed to the District 7 for the DMEA presentation. Let's listen to Ma'am Ellen Martinez, District 7.
Budget. Tadi,
Okay na.
pressure kita.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so proud to present the District 7 Monitoring, Evaluation, and Adjustment for Quarter 1 and 2. District 7 composed of the following elementary school. We have Batang Elementary, Tugon Elementary School, Don Chotimo Elementary School, Pinanuan Elementary School, Layun Elementary School, and Paulo Elementary School. And for the secondary, we only have the LCM TVHS. Then we have two private school, the Vanderpool Christian Academy and the Fishermen of Christ Learning Center. So my team prepared more than the slides required to us, but I tried to report in 15 minutes. So To begin with, may I now present the consolidated report on access for quarter 1. The number of completers. Okay, so we have targeted 100% completion rate. So our findings in the public elementary schools, only 98.8% or 252 of the pupils completed grade 6 for the school year 2019-2020. On the other hand, the district had 100% grade 10 completers during the school year. Then for the private schools, they have 100% of their learners were completers. For the analysis, having a gap of 1.2% or the non-completers in the public elementary school can be associated with the following factors: health condition of the learners, poor attitude towards learning, absenteeism, and inherent academic deficiency. For our plan adjustment, home visits should be done regularly. The conduct of guidance counseling sessions should be made more frequent. Remedial lessons should be enhanced. Close coordination with the parents should be sustained. For our number of dropouts, our target is 0 dropout rate. Out of 7 schools in the district, 2 elementary pupils drop out during the quarter. Meanwhile, the 0 dropout rate was achieved in the secondary level. The dropping out of 2 pupils from 2 different elementary schools was due to the learners' change in residence. Such factor was beyond the school control. The intervention done by the schools, coordination with the parents was done to encourage them to enroll their children. For our recommendation or plan adjustment, in case of change of learners' residence, the school should make consistent follow-up with the parents to encourage them to still enroll or transfer their child in a nearby school. Then we have now the SARDO or the PARDO. So our target here is 0 PARDO and SARDO. So the table shows that there is no pupil at risk of dropping out for PARDO in any of the elementary schools in the district. On the other hand, the Gulf City National Technical Vocational High School has 1.4% of its total enrollment, or 23 of its learners are considered as students at risk of dropping out or the SARDO. For our 23 learners of LCNTVHS considered as student at risk of dropping out is a result of the following factors: difficulty in adapting with the online lessons and modular learning due to poor or even lack of resources at home, particularly internet access, geographical and environmental factors, poverty, and early marriage. The interventions made of the teachers in the secondary, conduct of home visits, constant communication with parents and learners through various means, the conduct of responsible parenthood seminar. Then our plan adjustment, the conduct of home visits should be sustained. Regular follow-up with the parents and learners through SMS, phone calls, messengers, and face-to-face interaction during the distribution and retrieval of SLM should be strengthened. Additional reference materials such as books, pamphlets, and others should be given to the SARDOS to provide them instructional support. Now for quality 2, quality, we have the number of learners under frustration level for our target is 0%. So our findings in English, a total of 112 pupils or 22% of the learners from grade 4 to 6 in District 7 are under frustration level. Out of this number, 70 or 26% of the pupils are male and 42 or 18% of them are female. In Filipino, the district has 15.9% or 101 of the enrolled pupils from grade 3 to 6 or are under frustration level. 64 of them are males and 37 are females. The analysis, in comparison, there are more pupils struggling in English than in Filipino. Basically, because of the difficulty in learning a foreign language. It is also a fact that there are more male pupils under frustration level compared to females. This can be a result of the females having more passion for reading than the males. Similarly, male pupils are usually occupied with lesser time for study. For our plan adjustment and recommendations, the reading program of every school should be sustained and should even be enhanced to cope with the needs and challenges in the adoption of MDL. The continuous follow-up being made by the teachers to parents and learners through various modes of communication should be strengthened. The giving of technical assistance by the PSDS and EPS and the school heads to the teacher. So next is the number of learners with failing grades. Our target is 0 rate for failing grades. So the findings, no pupil has received a failing grade in any of the elementary schools in District 7 for quarter 1 of school year 2020-2021. For the analysis, District 7 has achieved its target of 0 failing grades for the first quarter in the elementary level. This can be attributed to the following factors: all-out participation and involvement not only of the school personnel, but also of the parents, para teachers, and relatives in the implementation of MDL, or the modular distance learning. Ample opportunities for the children to be given more support by their family members in the accomplishment of their learning task. The fact all academic activities are being done at home. Our best practices: close monitoring of pupils' academic progress being done by the teachers as well as the school heads. Extending assistance to parents along the provision of instructional support to their children. Giving of technical assistance by the PSDS and EPS to school heads, to teachers along the implementation of MDL. Our recommendation or plan adjustment: the best practices of the schools along the implementation of modular distance learning should be sustained. Now, for the secondary school, for the first quarter, the target is also 0 failing grades, but it's sad to note that the target for LCN TVHS, there are students who have received failing grades in the different subject areas. In fact, there is not even a single subject in which no one has failed. For the analysis, the results show that mathematics has the biggest number of students with failures. This can be a result of greater difficulty in mastering math competencies, considering that there is no face-to-face interaction with the subject teachers who are the experts in terms of clarifying confusions and providing further assistance to those learners who are lagging behind in learning math concept or skills. For the recommendation, the conduct of home visits should be done consistently. The provision of worksheets for remediation should be sustained, but other learning area aids like strategic intervention materials should be crafted based on the learner's needs. There should be consistent monitoring of the learner's academic progress to ensure that learning gaps are addressed. So we have now the performance level in mathematics with attaining 75 performance level in math. Ayan. So our findings, the elementary schools in District 7 has an overall 80.3 performance level in math with 85%, 85.32 as the highest and 75.1 as the lowest, as reflected in the data available per school. The analysis, the results indicate that the performance of elementary pupils along math is on the average level. It can therefore be inferred that the learners do not find much difficulty in learning the required math competencies. Nevertheless, improving the MPS is still to be targeted to ensure that the learners will fully master all the necessary skills in line with the subject. Our best practices, constant monitoring of schools, of pupils' academic performance, regular follow-up with parents and learners, provision of supplementary materials in math as aid to learning. The recommendation, the best practices of the schools along the implementation of math curriculum should be sustained. Further initiatives on enhancement of learners' math skills should be carried out. So under governance for Quarter 1, our two private schools, as mentioned, the Wonderful and the Fisherman of Christ, it is reported and find out that they have what we call the PCC or the Provisional Compliance Certificate. Then for private senior high school with permit to operate, the only private school we have the Fisherman of Christ Learning Center. For school year 2020 to 2021, they have permit to operate, but for 21 to 22, on process document, but all the documents requirements had been submitted to the schools division office last December 23, 2020. So for the analysis, the early processing of the requirements for the issuance of permit to operate observed by the two private schools enabled them to legally operate before the start of 2020-2021. VCA is likewise ready for school year 2021 to 2022, while the Fisherman of Christ Learning Center is soon to be issued the permit to operate for the next school year. For recommendation, early processing and submission of the requirements for the grant of permit to operate has to be observed to ensure that every private school is ready before the start of each school year. Now we go to the access for Quarter 2, the number of enrollment. Okay, we have for the elementary, secondary, and the private school. So our target is at least 5% increase. For public elementary school, there is an increase of 3% in the enrollment for school year 2020-2021 compared to the last school year's data. Majority of the schools have more enrollees this year, and only one elementary school has lesser enrollees this time. So we have that. For secondary level, LCN TVHS has only also an increased enrollment for junior high school. Has been deducted from its enrollment last school year. For private schools, both schools have lesser enrollment this school year 2020 to 2021 compared to last year's enrollment. The VCA has a 20.9% drop in its enrollment, while Fisherman of Christ has decreased its enrollment by 13.9%. The analysis, generally one of the major factors that has resulted to the increase in the enrollment of most schools, even in the midst of pandemic, is the provision of education at the comfort of the learners' homes. The DepEd authorities and school personnel have likewise exerted their concerted and notable efforts to convince the public to let their children continue learning despite the health crisis. The drop in enrollment in one elementary school results from the smaller number of qualified school age children for kinder. For senior high school, economic crisis and the transfer of learners to other schools have been the reasons for lower enrollment. And in the private schools, enrollment has dropped due to the transfer of learners to public schools in order to avail of free education. The recommendation, the efforts to enable all school-age learners to enroll and continue their education despite the health crisis should be maintained and reinforced. Okay, so we have now the data for our school-age and over-age. For elementary, then we have the secondary and the private school. The target is no overage learners in any level. In public elementary school, District 7 has a total of 122 over overage pupils from the different grade levels. Out of this number, 85 are males and 37 are females. In LC and TVHS, 14 high school students are overage. 10 of them are males and 4 are females. For private schools, the Wonderful has no overage learner. On the other hand, the Fisherman of Christ has 4 students who are overage and all of them are males. The analysis, having more overage male students is due to the following reasons. Male students are usually engaged in child labor, making them quit schools at time or letting them set aside schooling for a given number of years. Female students are usually more passionate and serious about finishing their studies at an expected time frame. Our recommendation, conduct of parents' orientation on children's rights, conduct of more assertive enrollment campaign, coordination with the barangay health workers and barangay nutrition scholars to identify individuals who are already qualified to enroll in school. Then we have the number of graduates. Our target is 100% graduates. So we have now the LC and TVHS, 100% graduation rate, I mean. The only public secondary school in the district, LCN TBHS had only 98.5% graduation rate for the school year 2019-2020. Meanwhile, the private secondary school, Fisherman of Christ Learning Center, had 100% graduation rate. Analysis, having a gap of 1.5% or 2 non-graduates in the public secondary schools can be associated with the following factors: the health condition of the learners, poor attitude towards learning, absenteeism, and child labor. Interventions done, conduct of home visits, conduct of guidance counseling sessions, having remedial lessons, coordination with the parents, conduct of parents' orientation on adolescents' rights. For our recommendation and plan adjustment, home visits should be done regularly. The conduct of guidance counseling sessions should be made more frequent. Close coordination with the parents should be sustained. Encouragement of parents to let their children prioritize their schooling over work should be done more assertively. So for quality, under quarter 2, the number of frustrations for English. So the target is 0 number of pupils under frustration level. Our finding for quarter 2, a total of 102 pupils or 20.15% of the learners from grade 4 to grade 6 in District 7 are under frustration level in English. 57 of them, or 55.89% of the pupils are male, and 45 or 44.11% of them are female. In Filipino, the district has 14.80% of 94 of the enrolled pupils from grade 3 to 6 or under station level. 54 of them are males and 40 are females. For the analysis, same with the data for quarter 1, English remains a more difficult language to learn considering that it's not the native to the pupils. The finding that there are more male pupils under frustration level compared to females is also unchanged. Still, the females having more passion for reading than the males stays as one major reason for this. Also, male pupils being more occupied with laborious tasks at home instead of devoting more time to studies is a contributory factors. Intervention made, implementation of 3 Rs, the Reading Recovery Program, continuous follow-up being made by teachers to parents and learners through various modes of communication, giving TA by the PSDS and EPS and the school heads to the teachers. Then we have now the recommendation and plan adjustment. The reading program of every school should be sustained and should even be enhanced to cope with the needs and challenges in the adoption of MDL. The continuous follow-up being made by the teachers to parents and learners through various modes of communication should be strengthened. The giving of TA by the PSDSS and Fs to the school head as well as to the teachers. So for our PL and mathematics, okay, we have that. The school attained 75%. Analysis, the result indicate that the performance of elementary pupils along math is still on the average level. Based on the result, it can be concluded that the learners do not find much difficulty in learning the required math competencies. Nevertheless, improving the MTS is still to be targeted to ensure that the learners will fully master all the necessary skills in line with the subject. Our best practices, close monitoring of pupils' academic progress being done by the teachers, extending assistance to parents along the provision of instructional support to their children, giving TA by the PSDS and X along the implementation of MDL. For our plan adjustment, the best practices of the schools along the implementation of math curriculum should be sustained. Further initiative on enhancement of learners' math skills should be carried out. So under governance, so we targeted 100% schools with SIP and AIP. For the elementary as well as the secondary, the findings, ayan, ito na. All schools in the district, both elementary and secondary, have approved SIP and AIP. This is one indication of good leadership since all school operations and budget are dependent on the crafted SIP. The analysis, having all schools with approved SIP and AIP is one indication of good leadership since all schools operation and budget are dependent on the crafted. Yes. Recommendation, the timely submission of SIP and AIP should always be observed. School heads and personnel should ensure that all school operations, activities, budget allocations, and expenses should be anchored on the priority projects indicated in the SIP and AIP. Next is the liquidation of MOE. We targeted 100% liquidation, and our findings, 100% of the schools in District 7 were able to liquidate their MOE cash advances for October to December 2020, and then for January 2021, all schools had their liquidation as well. Nevertheless, for February 2021, only 6 schools had their MOE liquidation. For the analysis, there was no MOE liquidation for February 2021 in one of the elementary schools in the district. We have Tugon Extension Elementary School, for there was no downloaded MOE cash advance for that month due to the transfer of the school principal to a different station. The recommendation, timely submission of MOE, cash advances should be sustained and should always be observed. Now, for the permit to operate, We have 100% target for this. The two private schools in District 7, the wonderful, the FCLC, both have permit to operate for school year 2020-2021 and for 21 to 22. Only Wonderful has already been granted the permit to operate, while the Fisherman of Christ Learning Center has already processed the requirements for the granting of such permit with all the necessary documents already submitted to SDO last December 23, 2021. So thank you very much for listening. This is Mrs. Helen Martinez. The PSD is in charge of District 7. God bless us all. Nagmamaranas.
Pakai istorya na naman tumahan.
Ma'am Martinez for the District 7 MEA presentation. And now let us listen to our discussion leaders for some questions and suggestions and recommendations. Anyone po from our discussion leaders?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chief.
Congratulations, Ma'am Helen.
Thank you so much, Ma'am
Congratulations
Chief.
for your presentation. Okay. And also, thank you for having that no failure rate, no failing learners in the elementary, except on the secondary, having 152 student having a failure rate in mathematics. No, you've mentioned there the issue on the failing grades of this 152. In addressing problem on failure rate in math, what specific activities can be given to this student in order to achieve the based on the PL in mathematics? But on the secondary, you've
Nasa na yan eh. Ah, ano? Sige, ayo. Subay grading. Tapos na po.
Anyone po from our school discussion leaders? So wala na po siguro. So let's give now the floor to Team Barante for the synthesis.
Okay, good afternoon again.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am Tita, as ask about the interventions made on failure rating on math. So the intervention made
For the failing grades.
uh,
Failing grades in
prepare
mathematics.
localized material
Mhm. Yes.
and constant monitoring through text messages or messenger chat lang po siguro. And then conduct video presentation to learners. Yun lang naman po. Thank you.
Okay, thank you too.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Team Barante. And congratulations po to District 7 PSDS Ma'am Helen Martinez for the DMAIA presentation.
Thank you too, MEA team.
Opo. So let's proceed now to District 8.
Hello, Sir
To
Lon.
us, the
Nandiyan ka yung presentation
PSDS
kay Sir Lon.
for Andy Sario.
Hello, good afternoon to everyone. While Sir Lon is preparing my presentation, I would like to greet our schools division superintendent, Sir Nelson, Ma'am Maylani Galicia, our assistant schools division superintendent, to my co-PSDSS, the technical working group or the technical working committee, the school heads, and especially to the school heads of District 8. Good afternoon to each and everyone. According to Philip Green, it's all about quality of life and finding a happy balance between work and friends and family. Friends, may I present to you the District 8 first quarter division monitoring, evaluation, and adjustment for school year 2021. Amo na ko pa si Terlon. District 8 is composed of by elementary school, headed by Marlon Asis, Ma'am Emily Ribibar of Barayong Elementary School, Ma'am Iris Paz of Barayong National High School, Ismael Bustamante of Herrera Elementary School, Alan Alconera of Mahaba Elementary School, Rudelisa Juarez of Pinit Elementary School, Jesus Ticha of Tinago Elementary School, schools such as the Catcat College and the HTLFS. Wala po yung slide ko. Sir Lon. Okay. So may I proceed now to the first item, which is the access. Along access, our target is 3% increase in enrollment in elementary. Next slide, please, Sir Long. The enrollment increased by 0.006% in elementary, or an increase of 13 learners in District 8. The target was not met. Our analysis, kinder and the primary grades are the most affected by the onset of COVID-19. They are the vulnerable, and parents give so much protection to them. Parents are hesitant to enroll their young learners because of the situation, program, and advocacy campaign. The plan adjustment, early planning on early registration program in the month of January, coordination with the barangay officials in the conduct of child mapping in the month of January, the use of FB, GC, radio, and other source of media in the advocacy campaign in January, February, and March. Next slide. This is 2019 versus 2019-2020 versus 2020 versus 2021. The same what I discussed earlier. The target enrollment in secondary school is 11%. Our findings: the enrollment increased by 16.4%, or an increase of 84 learners in Barayong National High School. Grade 9 has the most number of enrollees. The school has reached more than its target. Analysis: the intensified mapping and coordination of the school to the different barangays lead to the attainment more than the target. Our recommendation: sustain the program and activities of the school in the early registration program. Plan adjustment: sustain early planning and close coordination with the different barangays and sustain child mapping activities. Next slide. This is about number of dropouts both in elementary and secondary. Total enrollment, if we combine the enrollment in elementary and secondary, is 2,632. Target dropout is zero. Our findings: among the schools in the district, District 8, Barayong Elementary School has two dropouts and three dropouts in Herrera Elementary School. All of them are kindergarten pupils. Secondary school has no reported dropouts. Five dropouts is 0.002% of the enrollment in the K-12 in the district. District 8 did not meet the target. Analysis: the identified students are the kindergarten pupils whose parents transferred their residence due to work. Our recommendation: intensify monitoring and in giving assistance to the SARDO. Close coordination with the parents, intensify home visitation. Instead of dropping out, school can recommend kindergarten to transfer from other school. The plan adjustment, early preventive measure and detection such as home visitation through cell phone connection to orient parents of the pupils who are in critical situation. Next slide is about student at risk of dropping out, Sardo Pardo. Target zero, Sardo Pardo. Findings: among the schools in the district, Barayong National High School has a report of 19 Zardo. Most of them are in grade 9 and 10. These are students who have difficulty in the collection and submission of SLMs. Barayong National High School has 0.037 Zardo. District 8 did not meet its target. Analysis: the identified students are having difficulty in answering the SLMs. Their parents are not supportive due to lack of knowledge, and some of them are occupied to work. With this reason, some students lack of interest in schooling. Our recommendation: intensify monitoring in giving assistance to SARDO, close coordination with parents, intensify home visitation, plan adjustment, weekly, daily collections of feedback through feedback form, GC, Facebook, and other platforms to respond quickly to the concern of the student and parents. Complete rate in the elementary and secondary school. Target: 100% complete rate. The findings: 308 out of 208 grade 6 pupils completed the grade level or 100% complete rate in elementary in District 8. Barayong High School has 98.75 complete rate, or out of 113 students in grade 7 completed the grade level. District 8 did not meet the grade the, meet the target. Analysis. There are six male students and one female student who did not complete the grade 10. Most of the students do not have proper guidance from their real parents. Their guardians are their aunties or grandparents. Abusive parents were also noted during an interview. Recommendation. Intensify monitoring and in giving assistance. Close coordination with the parents. Intensify home visitation. Repute, report abuse to the authorities. Provide guidance counseling. Plan adjustments. Weekly, daily collection of feedback through the feedback forms, GC, FB, and other platforms to respond quickly to the concern of the student and parents. It's schedule guidance counseling. The next slide is about cohort survival rate from elementary and secondary schools. Target 100% cohort survival rate. Findings. This figure shows that only 85.99% of kindergarten pupils able to reach grade 6 after 5 years in elementary school. 82.88 of grade 7 in secondary school able to reach grade 10 after 3 years. Analysis. Transferring out in elementary is the main reason of unattainment of 100% CSR, while transfer of residence and employment are the reasons for secondary students. Recommendation, intensify tracking mechanism and to ensure continuity of education for learners who transferred out through LIS. Plan adjustment, schedule monthly monitoring and supervision of the learners in the school. Conduct weekly home visitation for the needy pupils and students. Monthly checking of pupil student status in the school. Next slide is about repeater rate. Target, zero repeater rate. Findings. Kinder has 20 recorded repeater rate, followed by 13 repeater rate in grade 1. Grade 7 has recorded 8 repeater rate, followed by 7 repeater rate in grade 10 in secondary. Mahaba Elementary School recorded 41 repeater and has the most number. Busay, Pilit, Tinago have no repeater. District 8 did not meet the target. Analysis. Most kinder and grade 1 pupils find the lesson difficult. Learning how to read is one of the difficulties the pupils encounter. Grade 7 and 8 students have find difficulties in adjusting to the new lessons. Struggling learners are struggling readers. Recommendation. Innovative teaching strategy that will cover the struggling learners. To monitor the progress and needs of the pupils and the students, implement a year-round reading program, conduct SLAC, DLAC based on the identified needs of the pupils and students. Next is 100% submission of SLMs. Target 100% submission of SLMs. Findings. All of the schools in the elementary recorded 100% submission of SLMs from kinder to grade 6. 500 or 507 of 599 or 85% of the students in Barayong National High School had submitted 100% of SLM in quarter 1. Analysis. The 15% student in Barayong National High School had difficulties in answering the SLMs. Their parents lack of knowledge to assist their students. The students are also working. SLMs in the elementary are easy to answer compared to secondary SLMs. Some students lack of internet connection. Recommendation, create an open communication with the students. Intensify the distribution of books for the students that will serve as their reference. Lead the students to educational website and seek assistance from the barangay for an internet connection. Plan of adjustment. Intensify weekly monitoring of the students' SLMs. Creation of hotline that will entertain weekly queries and provide assistance. Next is quality. Learners with failing grade. Target, 0 learners with failing grade. Findings. Findings. Mahaba Elementary School had identified 20 learners with failing grade. Most of them, 11 pupils, are from grade 1. Barayong National High School had identified 48 learners with failing grade. Most of them are from grades 10, 20 students, and grade 9, 17 students. Analysis. Pupils and students identified in Mahaba Elementary School and Barayong National High School are struggling learners who are also struggling readers. Secondary students identified have poor reading comprehension. Recommendation. Intensify reading intervention program. Enhance the provision of differentiated instruction. Plan of adjustment. Conduct a quarterly slot to capacitate teachers in teaching pedagogy along teaching reading and differentiated instruction. The next is mean percentage for the first quarter for the secondary English. Plan adjustment. Conduct quarterly slot to capacity teachers in teaching pedagogy in teaching elementary English. Here are the list of the least learned master skills. Hindi ko na po babasahin. In math, narito po yung nakuha namin least learned master skills. In English, in science, and Filipino, Mate, and MPD. We come now to MPS score for math, non-numerates in elementary and secondary school. Finding. Elementary got 79.74 average NPS in mathematics in the first quarter. Grade 5 got 74.89 NPS in math, which is below the target. Secondary school got 43.48 average NPS in math, which is also below the target NPS. Grade 8 has 42.73 NPS, which is the lowest NPS. District 8 did not meet the target. Analysis. Among the grades level in elementary, only grade 5 did not meet the target NPS in mathematics in the first quarter, while all the grade level in the secondary did not meet the target NPS in math in the first quarter. Recommendation. Intensify capacity building among the teachers in teaching math, especially grade 5, and in all level in the secondary. Plan adjustment. Conduct a quarterly slot to capacitate teachers in teaching pedagogy and teaching math in grade 5 and in all level in secondary. Number of learners under frustration level. Elementary Filipino and English. Findings. There are 206 pupils identified under frustration in English and 207 pupils in Filipino in District 8. These are almost the same pupils tested. District 8 did not meet the target. Analysis. In English, grade 4 has the most number of frustration level of 75 pupils and grade 3 with 73 pupils in Filipino. Recommendation. Intensify the implementation of existing reading program like Balanced Reading Program, ELLNP, Reading Recovery Program, and etc. Plan adjustment, conduct quarterly slot to capacitate teachers in teaching reading, both in English and Filipino. Number of learners under frustration level in reading Filipino in English. This is for the secondary. Okay. Next, we come now to governance. Governance, target 100% SIP submission. Findings, 7 out of 7 schools in the district has SIP. District 8 meet the target. Analysis preparation SIP was given ample time to the school head by the SGOD. Recommendation, sustain the process of giving technical assistance of the SGOD and the PSDSS. Plan adjustment, conduct technical assistance to the school head prior to the preparation of the next SIP. All schools in the district has SIP, and the next is MOE fund liquidation. Target 100% liquidation every month. Findings, all of the schools had liquidated, but one out of the 7 schools unable to liquidate its MOE on time. Most of the expenses of the schools were allotted to SLMs in the first quarter and in the procurement of PPE. Analysis, lack of proper recording, and prioritization. Recommendation, enhance fiscal management through the assistance of the division accounting personnel. Plan of adjustment, capacitates school head in managing effectively and efficiently of the MOE funds. Private school, target 100% submission of documentary requirements to operate. Findings, both CAP and HTFLC had complied with the documentary requirements to operate in District 8. District 8 meets the target. Analysis, regular monitoring of the private school leads for them to comply with the documents required. Recommendation, sustain regular monitoring of private school. Plan of adjustment, sustain weekly monitoring. There are some uncollected data. These are the uncollected data. Okay. Before I add my presentation, may I read to you this saying, intelligence plus character, that is the true, that is the good and the true education by Dr. Martin Luther King. Thank you very much and good afternoon.
Very much po, Sir Alisario, for the District 8 MEA presentation. So let us now listen to our discussion leaders for some questions and recommendations or any suggestions from the presentation of District 8. Tita, any question?
Hello, good afternoon, Sir Andy.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Congratulations for that presentation. Just a
Thank you,
clarification.
ma'am.
Your findings relative to the kindergarten on repeater rate. Your findings that kinder has 20 recorded repeater rate. May we know the basis of determining the repeater rate in kindergarten?
The determination of repeat rate in the kindergarten is if the student or the pupils repeat a certain class, they will be considered as repeater in that class. They don't complete the grade level, so they are retained in the class. So they are repeater.
Ganun ba yon? Kasi
Opo, ma'am.
parang sa ano kasi sa may we know the planning. Kung yung kindergarten ba ay may declaration ng repeater rate sa kindergarten, kasi ang sa kindergarten is compliant on the ECCD checklist,
Opo.
di ba?
So there are certain qualification, ibig sabihin, standard for them
Mm-mm.
to to accomplish to be with them before they go to another grade level. Maybe may I if Sir Alan is listening,
Oo.
he can
Sige
explain
na.
further.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Sir Alan.
Call a friend. Konting ulan pa.
So anyway,
Opo. Will I ako pa rin po, ma'am, i-verify ko po pa rin yan. Yan po yan. Question mo po. I will get this uh, people's ma'am.
Hindi po, Ma'am Tita and Sir Andy. Si Ma'am Emmy po, Libar,
Opo.
ay bro, Ma'am.
Ma'am Emmy.
Yes, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes po, Ma'am. Loud
Loud
and
and
clear.
clear.
Loud and clear. Thank you. Just a clarification. Although if repeater rate is a misnomer, then we could probably pupils have to repeat the grade level is because they have failed in the ECCD. The result of the ECCD reflected that they are not ready for grade 1.
Yes, yes.
Yes, Ma'am
So,
Tita.
that's precisely the non-compliance of the ECCD checklist.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
May
So,
mga skill po doon, ma'am. May mga skill po doon, ma'am.
so siguro the terminology
Dapat
that we
ma-
are going to use is 20 kindergarten failed and or not compliant to the ECCD checklist. Okay po?
Opo, sige po, ma'am.
Oh. Thank you very much, Ma'am Emily. Thank you very
ma'am.
much. Okay. God bless and congratulations to the team.
Thank you po.
So, tama po yun si Ma'am Emmy na baka may sa kindergarten, may mga issues po tayo. If a certain or if a child wasn't able to achieve or based from the ECCD result, he or she has a delay in the development, so pwede po siyang mag-repeat ng kindergarten.
You're right.
Thank you, Sir Gel, for the clarification.
Thank you, Ma'am Yet.
Master Andy. Okay. 20 recorded repeater or whatever you call it is quite big. Don't you think that's big?
Yeah, it is quite alarming
Opo.
on the part
And
of the school. But it will be more alarming if we will promote this kind of pupils. So better.
pero we're going to go back to the principal. Yes, sir. The learners at the start should not be allowed to experience
Discouraged.
frustration that early. So challenges like this really need we need to put our efforts together how we will be able to address this para towards the end.
I believe they are not discouraged. I believe the kindergarten teachers can handle well this kind of pupils that we have. If this kind of situation happen in our school. I know that magagaling ang mga kindergarten teachers natin.
Yeah.
Andy, good afternoon.
Good afternoon po, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Sir Andy,
Opo.
am I
Yes, sir.
being heard?
Opo, loud and clear, sir. Opo, sir.
Yeah, I agree with Ma'am Emmy regarding the number of repeaters that we have in kindergarten. If it's 20, this is almost equivalent to a class.
One class.
Yes, because the ratio is 1:25. And this is 20. How many classes do we have in Mahaba? If we assume that we have 2 classes, that means that 50%, if the ratio is 1:25, did not succeed in the program. I would like to invite the attention of everyone to look into the qualification of a potential kindergartner so that we will be able to see if indeed they are qualified in terms of age, because the assumption is at some point when they are already matured for SATs in relation to age, basically they'll be able to comply. The fact that this only involves gross motor and fine motor and a little of socialization skills. So if it's fine motor, that will come later, but the gross motor, which is associated to running, walking, drawing, is more on the fine motor skills. Uh, there is a very strong chance that the set kindergarten pupils were not properly screened. Now, taking into consideration the 20, we followed it up in the report in grade 1. I do not know if this represents the same school. If this is the same school, there are 13 repeaters in grade 1, or there were 13 repeaters in grade 1. Meaning, out of 20, if I am to assume that this refers to the same school, then therefore, uh, what is 13 in relation to 20?
Big number.
In relation to 20. This is more than 50% again of the total number. While for the rest of the schools, they did not have any repeater. Then on the analysis, most kindergarten and grade 1 pupils find the lesson difficult. There should be a very smooth transition from kindergarten to grade 1, in as much as this is a non-graded instruction. We are using the checklist for the purpose and assessing it on the basis of our observation, but not on the quantification, exact quantification in relation to what we are doing in other grade levels. So you will note also that there is a situation on matters of transition from kindergarten to grade 1. Psychologists are now saying that as much as possible, these young kids of ours should not experience frustration. That's why it's a non-graded thing. And later, the more formal schooling will just follow starting in grade 1. In fact, we are not yet introducing reading in the first semester of grade 1, though some are already doing it in the second semester. But the thing is, there is a very strong bridge between kindergarten as part of the transition to grade 1, especially in communication arts subject, which reading is not yet being handled seriously by the curriculum that we have. Yes, I am alarmed by this because if this will continue to exist, therefore the widening of learning gap is expected as they progress from one grade level to another. Because they found it difficult in the early grades. We can do is first look into the qualification of our kindergarten, maybe the pupils, the schools that we have strictly observing the provision as to age requirement. And another thing, are all of our teachers prepared to handle kindergarten pupils? And so with our grade 1 learners. If they proceeded to secondary, you will note the widening gap between elementary and secondary. The fact that the secondary or elementary rather perform better in relation to secondary. But the moment they reach the secondary level, you will clearly see the gap created in between the grades because of the plateau and the performance level as seen by us in the different results or examinations. So I agree with the recommendation that we continue to implement the children, especially when they proceeded to the next level of instruction.